DFS show with Jon Impemba and James Grande.
What is going on, FANation? Jon Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS game show. We got 8 games on the NBA DraftKings main slate. Got 11 over on FanDuel. If you're playing over there, you got the full slate. This is like the first in-season tournament day. They haven't given us the entire slate of games, probably because it was as big as it is. But for the most part this year, we've gotten the full in-season tournament slate. So we started at 7 p.m. Our last night on the game, 9 p.m. San Antonio, Phoenix, late night hammer for tonight. Your boy Grande was on the playbook for today. If you're in our Discord, he dropped some absolute knowledge sheets on everybody there to understand what you need tonight for teams in order to advance into the Emirates Cup, how much they need to win by, and how we can use that maybe to our advantage building a lineup. So if you're not in our Discord already, if you're not yet a member of the Fantasy Alarm family, get in there. Go check it out. I know a lot of you are in there. I saw our guy Power signed up. He's now part of the Fantasy Alarm family. Love having you in there, my friend. He took advantage of the Cyber Week deal. Cyber Week's still going on all week long. Save 50% off the monthly subscription through 2026. That's $19.98 a month. You can cancel it anytime. You can start with a 7-day free trial, but you're getting 50% off the All-Pro subscription package. That is access to all things on site, all tools, all playbooks, seasonal, draft guides, cheat sheets, Discord, lineup generator, you name it, all for a low cost of $19.98 a month when you use promo code CM24, fantasyalarm.com/cyber. You can scan that QR code right there. Be like Power. Come join the Discord, join the family, win some money with us here this evening. Grande, how we doing, man?
I'm doing good. Fun slate. A lot of implications, obviously, depending on, teams' temperatures on how the Emirates NBA Cup has gone and how they want it to go. I've seen some teams, talk about they want to get their rookies money. I've seen some rookies specifically say, I want $500,000, so I'd like to win this. Mark Dagnall of the Thunder has downplayed it. They need to win by like 35 tonight in order to just have like a chance. One of the paths they need to win by 35. So there's a lot going on. If anyone has questions, John did mention I dropped it in the Discord, but you could also just go to the NBA PR team on X and they have everything listed right there. They also, if you have a nice little, if you go to NBA.com, they have an NBA Cup tab with the standings. They have the teams kind of like grayed out that are still potentially in the tournament and can clinch a spot. So this is the last games of the group stage. 4 teams from each group will advance. I believe there's only 4 teams that have already clinched: Atlanta, Houston, Golden State. So only 3 teams have fully clinched spots in this tournament. So it should be a really fun night. Knicks Magic to win the group is a very important game. John, you are an Orlando Magic fan tonight because if the Knicks win, there's essentially no chance Boston can get in. You're also a fan of the loser of Milwaukee, Detroit, losing by double digits. You need that to also be in your favor. But Milwaukee, Detroit, maybe the game of the night. Both those teams 3-0 in the cup, and they face off against one another. So a lot of implications. And then the West is a nightmare. It's a nightmare. So, but San Antonio is the only win and in team over there in the West, which is just goes to speak to the Spurs' surprise early in the year once again. Like, oh look, the Spurs are good, and that's so. A lot going on in the Emirates NBA Cup. Should be a really, really fun night of basketball. I think it's fun because some of the teams, especially out West, are starting at different times. So they'll be able to track it, right? Like OKC is the earliest starter. They need to win by 35. They need Dallas to lose. And they're going to be watching, or if Dallas wins, they need to win by 35. So they're going to be watching. Dallas is going to be watching OKC like, all right, this is what we need. Like if they're coming down the stretch, same thing if Phoenix wins, like they're going to be watching too. So There's a lot of fun narratives going on and fun things that we need to sift through because it's going to make some of our decisions tonight matter a little bit more.
Great. Let's just jump into the slate as we talked about here. Not a lot of injury news has really come through quite yet. We do have some questionable tags on guys that we are monitoring throughout the day. But your top price guys on the slate are Giannis, Luka, Wemby, SGA up over $10,000. We talked about this morning. There wasn't a lot of value. The ownership here, I think, kind of tends to lead that direction as well because there's a little value. Some of the guys that are cheaper are getting the ownership bump just because there's not many other places to go. At the point guard position, though, two of the top spend ups, Luka and SGA, are here. You mentioned they're going to be watching each other's games and seeing the direction. You got Cade in that must win against Milwaukee, Lillard on the other side of that at 95. Donnie Mitch and Kyrie Irving round out that 9K range. So breaking down the top tier of the point guards, you got to lean one way or the other here.
Yeah, man, I love both Luka and SGA. I'd expect Memphis-Dallas to be a more competitive game. Memphis has obviously been really, really good this year, especially with everybody healthy. Dallas played really fast last game upon the Luka return. Now there's Kyrie back. We don't know the statuses of Klay Thompson and Derek Lively, but 36, 13, 7, 3 steals, 36 minutes after, missing almost 2 weeks. So Luka's back to full. Again, if they win, their point differential in the cup is massive, but it's a really, if OKC is up 40, well, Dallas needs to win by 20 to advance. So Dallas has the advantage with the point differential the way that it sits right now, but they're going to play Luka full minutes, probably get somewhere up near 40. So I love that spot for him. I'm definitely interested in SGA. It just is going to depend on what you think OKC does, right? Sure. You have to take a stand, I think, because if OKC, despite them downplaying the importance of the cup, they have a lot of young players who aren't on fully extended contracts, right? Like a lot of them. I mean, outside of SGA, outside of Hartenstein and a couple other names that have been extended. But if they're up 30 going into the fourth, John, they are the differential, and I'll just look it up real quick. Dallas has a plus 41. OKC is plus 18. If they're up 30, you have to basically decide for yourself whether you think OKC goes for it and just absolutely runs up the score in hopes that they can beat the Dallas differential, because it's 20, whatever the math is on that, right? 23 points. Yeah. So they need to beat Dallas differential by 24. So you're going to have to make that decision. I don't think Utah hangs. If they do hang in this game, it's a 16-point spread. Then obviously we're getting full run SGA. It's not great for OKC, but there's other paths for them to make it in the cup. Their own destiny route is by just blowing Utah out of the water and winning by 50, and then they probably get in. So, we've seen big minutes basically nightly from SGA. Sacramento, 35 minutes in a 21-point win. There hasn't been many games where he hasn't played 30 minutes, and he's scoring better than essentially everyone else other than maybe Giannis on a night-to-night basis. So yeah. I love SGA in tournaments, especially if you think they do run the score up. Because if you think that the score is going to get run up and OKC does show some care, I mean, they did at the end of the Lakers game. There was no reason for them to be at the end of that game. They scored with a second left despite being up 8, not traditionally what you do. But so that's your decision on SGA. I like it. I like the fact that they have a bunch of younger players that probably want to get paid $500,000 plus dollars. So I do see a scenario where they could run up the score. So I think SGA is pretty full in terms of minutes. Love him in tournaments. Cade, you can obviously play in tournaments. We saw him come back from the hip, played 33 minutes, lost a little bit of time due to a blowout. Should be, upwards of 35, 36, 37, where we end.
I bet the double-double again is minus 115 on DraftKings. Why not, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. He's just getting there with the 10 assists, but he's also gotten there now in 7 straight games, and it's not like Milwaukee's playing any defense here. So just keep riding the double doubles until he doesn't get the double double.
Yeah, I mean, I would say in the Milwaukee front they've definitely been better. Just is that also opponent a little contingent on opponent? They're now 14th in defensive rating. I mean, they've had a really nice schedule. So
they're giving up a lot of points: 117, 119, 114, and 3 of their last 4. So.
Sure. I'm just saying, like, on a whole scale, up to 14th, they're definitely like a little better than league average. So it's been better. Either way, if they're going to take this cup game seriously and he plays 40 minutes, it doesn't matter how good defensively they are because, Cade has triple-double upside. So I like Cade. Like Dame in tournaments. We've talked about him a lot. Not really getting to Donnie, Mitch, and Kyrie, but they're obviously both in play in tournaments.
Tier below, we have Morant, Booker, Brunson, Halliburton, Barnes, Maxey in the 8K range. We talked a lot about this Toronto-Indiana matchup this morning. Scotty Barnes, the small forward point guard eligibility at $8,300. Halliburton on the other side of the matchup at $84. We talked extensively about his home road splits and how poorly he has played on the road. Obviously, the Knicks, Orlando, a team that's going to play fairly slow. Not the lowest game total on the board, though. Philly and Charlotte had the lowest game total on the board. Maxey still, though, I still like and feel like I want to play some Maxey here. How are you feeling about the 8K tier?
Yeah, that game's actually been bet up a little bit. Still the lowest, but 211. It was like, 206, 207 when we did the show this morning. So it's definitely been bet up at least into the teens. I mean, it's a good tier. Memphis is another team that needs a boatload of help. They could obviously play their guys more minutes. It's also just a nightmare rotation. Could I see Ja playing 30 minutes here? Sure. But just with how many guys they play, how much are they going to extend him past that when what they're doing is working? Brunson is obviously in an extremely tough individual spot because Jalen Suggs is awaiting. But, there's also the Jalen Suggs foul trouble point that could, rear its head like it's been lately. So Brunson in a tournament. The one thing we know, Thibodeau must win game. He plays guys 40 anyway. So what are the minutes going to look like? If you were to set the line over under starters playing 40 minutes and you said 3.5, I might take the over. Just given because if the Knicks lose, they're out. Like they're not going to advance based on their differentials. So I could see a scenario where Brunson gets upwards of 40 minutes. And if in that scenario there's interest, obviously he'll be low owned because the spot is terrible. Yeah. But 40 minutes is 40 minutes, right? Especially for a player of his caliber. So Brunson's in play in tournaments. Halliburton is also in play in tournaments. I don't love it. I don't hate it. I'm indifferent about it. And I think I'm indifferent about it is because I like the two guys below him more. I like Scotty Barnes, point guard small forward, has obviously been super elite in basically every category. His head coach, despite him shooting 27% from 3, wants him to take more threes. And Tyrese Maxey is just full blown back with the minutes. 45 in a loss that was 40 in regulation, and then 35 in a blowout where, you're obviously going to see him play 40 in a competitive game. So despite that low game total for Maxey, I agree. The ownership doesn't care either, right? Like a lot of this game is pretty highly rostered, and I know it's mostly on the Charlotte side, but it is a pretty good game to target because we get 40 minutes for Maxey in regulation here. So yeah, I like Barnes and Maxey the most, but I could see scenarios to get into the other guys.
Yeah, I agree with you. And again, our guy Iggy Gilbert, who does our NBA best bets, I'll give a little teaser in here. He put the Scotty Barnes triple double in his best bets article today, plus 650.
Spicy.
So he's giving you a little long shot play there, half a unit on the Scotty Barnes triple double. Give a quick shout out to everybody who's in chat. We do appreciate you all tuning in. If you want to throw a comment or a question in the chat, we're happy to bring them up on the screen. Jeff P. pop it in, say hi. I see through you, Justin, another Discord member in there. You got Beefy 5-layer. I'm not really a Taco Bell guy, but he's there saying a fun slate here. Zevon saying what's up. Warren saying hey. 99 cents and giving a shout out to Brogdon. We'll talk about Brogdon here in a little bit. Micic, Barrett, and so on are the top 3 plays in for Justin here. We'll talk some value. Warren calling the Rockets winning the cup. We'll see. The Rockets
spicy. I like it.
Certainly got a shot at it. Our guy Dez popping in. Happy to have you in the chat here, Dez. Dave saying go Bucks. Albert popping in saying hello. And Zevon asking if he's joined. I did check. You did join. You did sign up. I don't see that you got the subscription, though. So if you meant to sign up for the Cyber Monday, go to fantasyalarm.com/cyber. Enter the promo code CM24. You'll get your 50% off monthly subscription there through 2026. That's fantasyalarm.com/cyber, or scan that QR code right there on the screen. Use promo code CM24. That's a $19.98 a month for the through January 2026. Again, our usual monthly cost is $39.97. You get a 7-day free trial. So come join the family for 50% off for the next year for Cyber Week. It's a great deal to take advantage of. So, Zevon, I do see you joined, but you haven't gotten all the way yet to get the full benefits. Power's in here saying, what's up? What's our minutes projection on Sohan tonight, Mr. Grande?
Let's see what I put him at. Let's see. I think I put him at like 28. I'm going to confirm with that right now. I would say I put him at 28 because it was a finger. Wasn't anything else. I had him at 28 and a half is where I had him. So I was down.
Saying go Suns. Power asking if Wemby will be the highest scoring pay up over Giannis. We'll see. Had 80 in a triple-double last game. Certainly could be.
That's a powerful statement.
Powerful statement. Michael Montgomery, did we talk Fred VanVleet? Yeah, we did not. We will get to him in a moment.
He is on the FanDuel slate. We will not be getting to him.
All right, well, we will not get to him, but we will talk about Fred VanVleet quickly for our guy Michael in the FanDuel slate.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good spot for Houston. He's obviously in play in GPP.
Sacramento, right?
Yeah. Sorry. $7,500 on FanDuel. It's a really good price, over a fantasy point per minute for VanVleet. You know, Houston, although they've clinched their spot, they want to host the tournament through Houston. So I'm assuming they're going to still play, their top 7 big minutes, and VanVleet, no reason to think he doesn't, get upwards of 40 minutes. But we've obviously seen, since he cursed out all those refs, he's kind of gone on a tear the last couple games, Sean. I mean, 38, 13, and 27 points, 35 plus minutes in 3 straight games. But Fred VanVleet, get him riled up, and you see what the outcome is.
We got almost 300 of you guys in chat. Why don't you guys do us all a favor? Hit that like button over on the Fantasy Alarm YouTube channel. It's a free way to support the work we do here. You can also hit that subscribe button to get notified whenever we go live. We go live each and every day, 5 p.m. Eastern time. We do a preview show. We got football shows during the week as well. Baseball's coming right back around. We launched our MLB free agent tracker today with some big free agent signings happening over the last few days, and maybe soon a Juan Soto signing coming down the pipe. Dwayne wants to know, rank them. Luka, Wemby, Giannis, SGA. So give me your rankings of the 10K and up tier.
Dwayne, I hate touchscreen phones too. Just based on how things are being typed.
Web by Wemby.
Based on how things are typed, that is clearly a mistype on a touchscreen phone, right?
Killed by the autocorrect.
Yeah, it's autocorrect right there. Yeah. Death by 1,000 autocorrects. I guess it just depends. Like, no one's playing Giannis tonight. A lot of people are getting to Luka. I really like SGA in tournaments. I really like Wemby. We've seen Wemby play 37 minutes twice in the last 3 games. And obviously, like, if they win, they're in the in-season tournament. I'll say Luka 1, Wemby 2, Giannis 3, SGA 4. Not because I don't like SGA, but you're also asking me about the 4 best players on the slate. Sure. So I'll say Luka 1, Wemby 2. If you're playing large field stuff, I really do like the SGA. But you really have to be okay with like taking a risk, because if they do pull their starters, if it's a blowout, then you're kind of in a bad spot. So it just depends on your thoughts on what OKC does at the end of that game.
Yep, I agree with you. All right, let's work our way down this point guard list. We'll get to some of the other questions here in a second. All right, 7K range has Garland, Poole, Sexton. We got Suggs, George, and Paul in the 6K. And then Brogdon at 59, Tyus at 58. We had Cantler here saying Tyus has looked better than Brogdon. Yes, but Bradley Beal's back today. So Tyus is going to have to compete with some Bradley Beal usage now on the floor. So mid-tier guys, any of these sticking up to you, knowing that there's a lot of ownership in the value, or at least one particular value play a point guard today?
Yeah, outside of Chris Paul, I don't have a lot. I like the minutes from Chris Paul. I think that that's something that we could look at again tonight with the in-season tournament, and knowing that they can clinch to move on. And I think this is something that Chris Paul probably wants his younger teammates to like feel, right? Like the importance of like this is probably most of their most important games, other than like Harrison Barnes and Chris Paul. Like everyone else is super young on this team, so I like Chris Paul, especially if he were to get 30, like close to mid 30s minutes again. I think there's like double and 40 fantasy point upside in his bag. I don't necessarily disagree that Tyus has looked great. I don't know if he looks as good as Brogdon does, just given like one, like you said, one team is adding a high usage player and one team subtracted a high usage player. And I understand like the point is Cleveland is amazing.
And 30 minutes from Brogdon now, though, like that's pretty
right.
legit.
Right. I think that's like that's the kicker. Now knowing he can get 30 minutes, he's starting, they basically kicked like because of his minutes, Bub Carrington is like not playing right now, right? And there's no back-to-back for Washington today. So like even in a blowout scenario, could you see Washington, who hasn't won in an entire month, like extend their guys a little bit just to like feel better about things? I mean, I think there's a lot of scenarios at play that I would personally go Brogdon over Tyus. You also have the factor Brogdon has multi-position eligibility too. So like I think there's a lot more tipping in the scales Brogdon's way, basically outside of the matchup, because Tyus obviously has a slightly better matchup than Brogdon. But I don't love this like range outside of Chris Paul and Malcolm Brogdon. And I'm just ready to get to Vasilije Micic.
I said, yeah, we can get the Micic here. I'm just going to pull up the Bradley Beal stats for the year when he's on the floor, the usage rate, for that team. Obviously, again, adding a guy like Beal to their starting lineup is going to make an impact. Tyus has just a 14.9% usage rate for Bradley Beal on the floor. That is not the direction you want that to go. So just not.
Is that including Nurk off the floor?
Just Bradley Beal on the floor is all I put on there. So could obviously be slightly different, I guess, with everybody off the floor, but I wouldn't imagine too much of an overall adjustment on that. With Nurkic off and Beal on this year, we have Tyus at a 15.7, so improves slightly, but still, you don't want a 15% usage rate player on your team.
Yeah, and 0.8 fantasy points per minute in that is just not great.
All your chalk, 45% today on Vasilije Micic, playing all the minutes, 34 and 31 the last two games, 23 and 36. We kind of went over all his accolades when he was playing over the EuroLeague and the Super Turkish League that he was in. He was the MVP. He was the leading scorer. He was, finals leading scorer. Like you name it, he was pretty legit over in the EuroLeague. He's come over here as long as he's just been a bench player. Sometimes that translates that way. He was getting ready to leave, trying to work his way out of his contract with Charlotte to go back over at the time of all these injuries, and here he is now playing over 30 minutes. We saw him last year when extended, put up some pretty decent games. Again, I know the low game total is slightly less appealing here, but everybody, because as of now, there's not a ton of value, is going in this direction here.
Yeah, including me. I mean, it's been 15 and a half potential assists in the two starts, the 30 plus minutes in each of them. And even in games where they've only scored 98 and 104 points in those games. And yet, the minutes, the shot attempts, the potential assists have all been there. And even, last game with 8 rebounds, that obviously plays too. So I'm not overthinking the Micic point. And it's like I saw somebody comment on why no Giannis, 99 cents. Well, he's $12,000 and we don't really have like a ton of value. And like he's still ranked, as highly as anyone else. It's just,
You got him as like the second highest projected scorer of the slate, but he's coming in at less than 10% ownership. So
yeah, and he's
want to be different in a tournament today. I mean, there's your like Corey asking top 2 GBP picks for a single entry. I mean, you could have the highest scorer on the slate at less than 10%, and that's a tournament play with Giannis today.
Right. And like he's $1,000 more than Luka. He's 1,400 than Wemby, and he's 1,700 than SGA. And I know that question or that comment came in like during that debate. But like unless more value opens up, it's just harder to get to a guy that you need to find $1,000 more to get to.
That's right. You have to. You basically are put in a situation when we go build a lineup. You see where we kind of want to go with our lineup today. You'll see like we have to make some tough decisions on guys we really like cutting down if we want to go all the way up to Giannis here today. All right. There are other obviously point guards here that you can play some dart throws like McBride or whatever, but it's Micic here. For us at the $4,500 range. Marcus Smart has obviously been really good off the bench. LeVert's back. He's looked good off the bench for them. There's some options, but Micic is where the field is going. Was there anybody else for you?
No, to the LeVert point, I think he would look better if there's no Jerome, who's questionable. I think that could add to some of the Jerome or the LeVert minutes.
Sure. Shooting guard. Donnie Mitch 91, Kyrie Irving 9K. Again, some of these guys we talked about. Booker. We get the Brandon Miller at $8,000. He's one of the guys that we talked about. He's the cover of the preview show this morning. Again, I understand it's a low game total of 211. This man has taken 30 shots, 25 and 30 shots the last 2 games here. Volume rules, everything around me. So nice. This is where we're at with Brandon Miller. Hey, and guess what? He's hitting his shots. So
somewhat hitting his shots. When you take 30, you don't have to make that. You don't have to make
it's true.
Half, you don't.
Shooting 33% and 28% is actually pretty bad, but
no, it's very bad. But again, like you said it, volume is king, right? Like if he's taking 30, dude, like when you were going 10 for 19, we were happy. If you go 12 for 30, okay, we're in business because that's a baseline of 24, and we know his 3-point volume is up. So
I care about shots made, right? Not shots taken. So
shots made.
If he gets 10 shots made, I don't care how many he takes, we're good. Right?
Yeah. Because, as we saw, 19 threes, like most of those are going to be 3-point makes. So, the last 2 games, no ball, no Bridges, no man, 37.5 and 38.8 usage rates. Those are the 2 games. I mean, it's just what it is. It doesn't matter total. Yes, the pace will probably dictate a little bit about 30 shots, but, the less possessions, the more you probably want Brandon Miller to have the ball in his hands anyway. So
you mentioned the Micic 15.5 assists, potential assists. And like I said on the show this morning, I bet like half of those are just Brandon Miller coming off picks, like just taking a 3. So Miller get 8K is certainly great. Again, Booker, you want to get there. The man has a 70-point game in his bag. You can certainly go there if you want.
40 minutes with the scenarios that they need. Like if they win and I think OKC loses, or if they win and Dallas loses, they're in. So they're going to play him 40 minutes.
Yeah. I don't love the price on Ivy, but he's put up some good games this year with Cade back. If you think you want to stack this game, like Ivy, you can play him if you want to, but not necessarily where I'm looking to go. Yet Matherin at 7K. Again, a guy that we've gone back and forth on. He's had good games. He's had some bad games. This game is a 230.5 total now is the last one I saw at. Somebody has to score for them. This is what we kept on saying last night. For them to be a 3-point favorite and a 238.5 total, somebody has to score. Halliburton's got very bad road splits. It's Turner, it's Siakam, it's Matherin, or one of those 4 are going to be the leading scorer on this team tonight for them to win in a game that has a 238 total. We could get a 20-10 game here out of Matherin tonight at 7K.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good spot. Toronto's 23rd in defensive rating. You assume Matherin's not being guarded by Scotty Barnes.
Yeah,
it's a it's
do
a
you think Siakam would draw that
yeah, I
matchup?
think so. I think so. So like, it's a pretty good spot for Matherin. Um, it's like there. I feel like you can drop Indiana in a bucket today, John. Like the same bucket, right? Halliburton, Matherin, Turner, Siakam. You put them all in that bucket, and you like shake it up, and one of them is going to come out with like 60 tonight.
Sure.
And like that's kind of how it is in general, right? They're back to playing really fast. They're sixth in the league in pace, but they're not playing any defense. I'd say the Nembhard part is a little like he looked really good in his short stint last game. And we expect his minutes to kind of like go upwards. Does that take away from the rest of the
We
group?
did talk about he had a very low usage rate last year, so like
Yep, he did. He did. I'm just saying, like, with how you never like you just don't know how things are going to play out when they drop in like this guy who was starting and obviously had his like ascent to not stardom but like get an extension based on his playoff run, right?
yeah.
So I like Matherin. I like Indiana in general because you mentioned 238, they're favored, but it's just hard to like be like this is definitely the guy I want, and Matherin falls into that same category for me.
Yeah, I agree. McCain back on the bench, so kind of difficult to get to him at $6,800. You have Jordan Poole. We know what the upside for him can be if he gets the shot falling.
Yep.
Sexton, Beasley here. Bridges coming off of a big game. Anybody in this mid-tier range that you have interest in?
Not really. I mean, I think you and I both just want to see Beasley starting over Hardaway. I think that's probably like coming sooner rather than later. If
I'm
Hardaway,
actually okay if he comes off the bench. I just want him playing more minutes than Hardaway, right?
Yeah,
He can come off the bench and play 30. I'm good with that too.
Right.
I just need to see these minutes stay consistent. And he's also, again, he just also keeps hitting his shots.
He's making shots, yeah.
So, which is, well, again, shot maker show. We're workshopping a new name for the show. Shot makers might be it.
I think this is a largely like a kind of a wasteland for me. Like I like Brogdon, and then I just kind of drop down to the value. I think there's two interesting names. One was mentioned by Warren. Cason Wallace was a talking point that he brought up. Cason Wallace is also someone who has largely gotten ownership all day, and that really hasn't changed throughout the day. $4,300 point guard, shooting guard. No Caruso has just kind of led to Cason Wallace getting like boatloads of minutes on a consistent basis. And you see it. He's still like the 8th highest rostered player of the slate. So 4,300 for Cason Wallace is definitely in play. I think there's a few things to consider here. One, he has a really low floor, like really low. Two, when he makes shots, he's like going to stay on the floor because he's so good defensively that OKC just runs around. And this would be a good spot for him to be in long stretches, just given like, the Sexton Keontae backcourt where, they just that perfect fit for Cason Wallace. But I do think if you want to get weird and like get different tonight, because a lot of the field is getting to a guy with a really low floor, why not take a shot at another guy with a really low floor, but has been shooting the ball extremely well? Same price, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, $4,300 in a game just like OKC with like a lot at stake, right? Orlando wins, they're 4-0 in they basically will get in no matter what, unless the Knicks beat them by like 37. I think they have to lose by like Boston can get in over Orlando if Orlando loses by 37. So like not going to happen, right? Orlando, the pace of this game is too slow for that to happen. But I do think there's like a case to be made for Caldwell Pope when you factor in like Orlando went to this double big lineup. They don't really have a lot of offense to begin with. Outside of Franz, Suggs has improved there. Wendell Carter's decent. Goga's like more lobs, offensive rebounds, not going to create for himself. And KCP, as I mentioned in the playbook today, 38.5% or better from three for 5 straight seasons. And he's been at 40% or better in 2 straight. it's kind of like one of those things where we said it about Brandon Miller and we said it about, insert whoever, wherever. They need to make shots. KCP was not making any threes. Now he's making threes. Now suddenly we're getting ceiling games, 30 plus fantasy points out of him in 2 of the last 3 and 25 in the other. So like while everyone's going Case and Wallace, I do understand it. I'm not saying it's a bad play at all. I do think that KCP offers a pivot off of a guy who's basically 20%, like 20x the rostership that Caldwell Pope is right now.
What do you think, rookie of the month, Jalen Wells?
I like the minutes, and I like the minutes considering everyone's back. It's just one of those situations where I'm okay with you going there. It doesn't seem like the steam has gone away, really. Mm-hmm. I would say to you that I am very confident in the minutes not being the same as like a Case and Wallace or a KCP, right? Because like Case and Wallace, 3 straight games of 30 minutes, KCP 34, and both those guys in like, not that Memphis is eliminated. They need basically everyone in the West to lose for them to have a chance. So I don't hate the Jalen Wells point. He has the best eligibility of those 3 guys we talked about. But I just lean the other directions in this range. But again, like I don't hate the call, but I just, you got to know you're getting mid-20s minutes. So if he's not making shots in that pocket, then you're drawing dead with him because he's just not coming back into the game very often.
I forget if we touched on Vassell or not, but Vassell, $5,100, 24 minutes last game, 25 minutes against Washington. So we kind of know where his like current ceiling is, and maybe that continues to improve. But either way, he's been really good. And if he's going to start playing 25-ish minutes a night, now this is a competitive game against Phoenix. They know they have a player that he is. He's coming back from that injury, taking a lot of shots, making a lot of shots. Generally a better peripheral stat guy as well than we've gotten so far here. That could have a lot to do with just Chris Paul playing.
And Wemby. And
Wemby, right? But like $5,100 Devin Vassell, what do we think?
I'm going to pass. I was a little more bullish on the pre-show. I don't think the minutes are going to go too high. Like, again, 5,100. And it's not like this rotation is getting any shorter with Sohan coming back. So, and I'm not saying Devin Vassell is not going to lose time to any of these other guys like Champagnie and Harrison Barnes and Stephon Castle. They're all going to probably lose time when it comes to Devin Vassell's ascent to like more minutes. But unless we got word like 30 minutes is a realistic expectation, I probably wouldn't get here.
Primate, what's up, man? Happy to have you part of the family now these days. Running behind any major news. No major news yet. No major injury news yet. I'm sure we'll get some here. Chalk play so far. Vasily Micic, $4,500 point guard is your number 1 overall value play for the day. We haven't really hit any of the top guys overall yet. If you're
Scotty B.
Scotty Barnes and Luka Doncic are your top like overall spend ups so far. So could see a lot of lineups start and begin with those 3 plays today. Micic, Luka, and Barnes, or Barrett rather. No, Barnes, and moving its way over there. Castle or Vassell? Castle's got all the minutes, but Vassell could be the better play.
I mean, I think you it's minutes versus upside. I mean, scoring upside because we know Vassell's a bucket.
Shots, but again, you have to kind of weigh, I guess, opportunity. Sohan being back does throw a little wrench into things for me, I think.
So I think here's what I think, and I said it to you last night. I think Castle goes to the bench, which I think hurts because I think they're going to start Sohan off the rip, and what they did earlier in the year: Champagnie, Barnes, Paul, Sohan, Wemby, and maybe they don't. Maybe they do keep Castle in there and Barnes or Champagnie move to the bench. But if Castle moves to the bench, I'd have a hard time like envisioning him because like Trey Jones is out. So they just use Castle now as like their backup point guard tonight.
Vassell plays point guard.
I'm a little indifferent I'm a little like lukewarm on both of them. I would probably, if Castle's starting, go there. If not, I'd probably go Vassell.
Right. Small forward. Franz Wagner, $9,600 here. No one's playing.
He's gonna play 40 minutes tonight with 40 minutes.
We like Barnes a ton here. Miller, we talked about. RJ Barrett, I wrote him up in our as my underdog play today. Is on the cover solely based off what you sent me in our DM chat. Barrett at home this year, averaging 30 points a game in 7 games. We're not big splits people here. You don't believe in DVP to an extent. We do a little bit, but not really. But these are drastic numbers. And
something to be said about that.
Now, the Raptors have been a very inconsistent team with their lineup construction this year because they've had without Scotty Barnes for a while, quickly played 3 games. So some of these performances likely came when it was RJ and RJ alone out there just having big. But I think it was 5 of the last 6 games at home, he scored at least 30. So not all of it. Some of it is at full rosters pretty much. So again, 238.5 total. This is now a 3-point spread. They're going to be competitive in a 240 game. Barrett's going to score a lot of points. He's probably going to be their leader in shot attempts tonight over Scotty Barnes. In terms of actual field goal attempts, I think he'll be the leader. Barnes may end up taking more free throws and, that whole deal. But, I think RJ Barrett's primed for a big night tonight. I wrote him up in the underdog play. 7,900 is a good spot. It's a good price.
It is. And it's just a good matchup in general. Indiana's 25th in defensive rating. You've talked about it a couple times, 238 implied points in this game. And Indiana's now 6th in pace. They've ascended their way up the ranks there. Nice pace of spot for Toronto. Really good matchup for Barrett. Again, home road splits are what they are. I think for in the Tyrese Halliburton camp that we talk about a lot, there's clearly a psyche thing there, right? There's clearly an issue that he's had. It's just kind of something going on in his head. RJ from Canada, right? He's from the area, he's a Canadian national. And he's obviously been super great at home. And what kind of solidified that, John? Last game with, the 37 actual, Scotty Barnes played in that game. Some of these games had been just RJ, sans everyone else, him and Pirtle, 2-man game, Shaq and Kobe style. Yep. But with Scotty back and him still scoring 37 at home, that kind of, stamped that. So yeah, I think RJB is honestly a really nice pivot. And nobody's yelling about Scotty Barnes as loud as we have, right? For the last 2 weeks. I feel like I have been on crazy pills about Scotty.
Barnes face of the league. I don't know if you knew that.
Face of the league, Darko. Shout out to you. For those that John doesn't actually believe that. But it took 2 weeks for Scotty to get here, but now he's the 3rd highest rostered player of the slate. RJ's a good pivot. Not that RJ's not rostered, but there is about a 10% discrepancy. So
if you want to ruled out, by the way, on cue of talking about Toronto. So just another shooter off the floor for the Raptors here tonight.
I wonder. So that does make me wonder what that will do for ownership, because Walter's 4K, Davion, who got all the minutes last game, is 38. So I wonder if either of them get more ownership. I'd assume Walter would continue to be the starter, but we saw him lose out some minutes last game, and now he's 4,000.
They could just stick Davion and Halliburton in this game and just have.
Yeah, that's what my thinking too.
Right?
My thinking too. Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll get the ownership update out on Fantasy Alarm. You can check all that out there. Posted that in the Discord. Janet popping in. Subscribed a couple of weeks ago. Appreciates all the hard work we do. She's going to subscribe to Fantasy Alarm. Lower prices than other sites. That's true. We are cheaper than everybody. And now's the best time to join. Just throw this QR code right up here again. Be like Jenna. Save 50% off your monthly subscription cost right now, $19.98 a month through 2026. That's code CM24. FantasyAlarm.com/cyber. Access to everything we put out on site and premium Discord for a low monthly cost of $19.98. All right, we're on our way down. Would you rather go Barrett or Miller? Pick one.
Brandon Miller for just what I know is going to be 30 shots.
Okay.
Or somewhere upwards of 30.
Dean Wade active. I don't know if we were expecting that or not.
Yeah, he went through shoot around earlier today. So then maybe we get the Ty Jerome news following that too.
Power staying away from Wagner tonight because he's got the OG defense and the $9,600 price tag. Yeah, many people are staying away from him today. Just a competitive board with some better pricing. All right, we're going our way down. Bradley Beal returns. He's 77. Paul George, 75. Might get his minutes skipped up a little bit to maybe around 30 here. Bain, Marketing. We got the Knicks plays here in the mid-tier. What are we thinking?
Yeah, I think I do think Paul George actually, like, looking at how it went, would have played 30 minutes. If not for some foul trouble in the first half, and then if not for blowout. So I do think we're probably going to get somewhere close to full Paul George. Maybe not like 38, but he didn't play after the 8:23 mark of the fourth quarter and wasn't able to close the first half, the final 4 minutes because of foul trouble. So I do think we get like into the 30s, 31, 32. That's just kind of like what the Sixers like jump has been basically, with Paul George, with Embiid, with Maxey to an extent. So low 30s, fine. I'm not going to touch Beal at 77. Desmond Bain can't make shots. He'll eventually figure it out, but not going to test it there. Larry Markkinen, happy to see your price here, but good day, sir. You're in an awful spot. You're going to be in the torture chamber in this one. Or J Dubs and his, you're going to have.
They're good defensively. So
you're going to have, they're just number one in the league. We talked Matherin. The Knicks are going to be, I said, I would take the over on 3.5 Knicks playing over 40 minutes today. And obviously Josh Hart, OG exists in the world. They're going to play 40 plus minutes. So if you want to play either one of those dudes, you can. Koulibaly's going to play a bunch of minutes. I think forward tonight, John, kind of gross, like really gross. I think forward in general, because you're like Cody Martin and Josh Green, I think are like fine for Charlotte, but they're also getting healthier. What do their minutes look like? Like Salon getting all the ownership that he's getting tonight. He's a power forward only, but like just Charlotte disgustingness only. Like I'm not a fan. We had the Jarris Walker comment here. I don't hate Jarris Walker, but also I think it needs to be said that Andrew Nembhard didn't play in the second half of that last game, right? And Jarris Walker played basically like 20 straight minutes in the second. I mean, not 18 straight minutes in the second half. Yeah. Will he do that again if the game is really competitive and if Nembhard is like mid 20s minutes? I'm not like fully confident that would.
He is getting a lot of ownership tonight because of the recent minutes run for him too. So
yeah, but like Nembhard, right? Nembhard played 14.5 minutes in the first half, basically 15 minutes. Didn't play in the second half, and they start Quentin Jackson in the second half. He plays like 2 minutes. In comes McConnell. They take McConnell out, and then Jarris Walker just basically plays the entire second half. And I'm not saying that he's not in their rotation, but I think there's like something to be said about Nembhard just not playing, and he's expected to play tonight. If Nembhard gets ruled out, then I think we're revisiting the Jarris Walker conversation. For me, I'm fine if you land on Jarris Walker, but like him and Obi Toppin both got extended. They both played well. What if they don't? And what if the starters are playing well? Like they're not going to be extended. And I think that's kind of just speaks to how bad the value really is tonight.
Yep, I agree with you. And I think that's one of the reasons why you see Scotty Barnes so highly rostered.
Yes.
Is that everybody's just plugging him in at small forward and moving along. Mm-hmm. Power forward. Again, Giannis is up here. I have no problem if you can find ways to get him in your lineup. Guy's gone for 70 plus in 2 of the last 3, and he's under 10% tonight. So you want to find ways to get Giannis in your lineup, by all means. We'll never tell you not to play him. It's a good spot against Detroit. Jalen Williams, $8,800. Kevin Durant at 86. Again, I mentioned I really like the Durant price point here. I get it. He hasn't like exploded, but pretty consistently in that 50 fantasy point range. He certainly has upside for more. No Nurkic tonight. They could just, the rebounding numbers last game, 10 rebounds for him. They could just go the KD center route in this one and let that ride against Wemby. So I'm certainly good with any of those top guys up here.
Yeah, I wrote Durant up in the playbook today. He is my favorite son. Not my favorite son. That would be my actual son. He's my favorite son. He's my favorite son's player, Kevin Durant, tonight. No Nurkic this year, John. Nearly a 4% usage bump for Kevin Durant. Team leading 33.5% without Nurk, which I think is very interesting. Almost 1.4 fantasy points per minute. And the Suns need it in terms of winning this game. They need to win to advance in the Emirates Cup. And I think the most important thing, he's played 3 games since coming back. And in game number 3, they were like, all right, Kevin, you're good? All right, you're good. He played 36 minutes. So we're going to get 40 minutes out of Kevin Durant tonight. I think you're right. They could potentially go some small ball. And I think that's going to be a very important conversation for when we arrive to center for the Suns, when we start talking ownership. But yeah, I love Durant in tournaments. So that would be my play in that range for sure.
All right, next row, Mobley, Triple J, Siakam, John Collins, $7,400. Thoughts on the 7K tier?
Yeah, I mean, Cleveland in general, if Washington can stay competitive, it's obviously a great spot. Washington's the worst team in basketball, worst defense in basketball. Triple J, has been extended a little bit in cup games. And obviously we've gushed over him enough. Just the minutes are not great with how many guys they're playing. So, it's fine. I would prefer Siakam to Jaren Jackson. Obviously, really good spot. Toronto, bad defense. Looked really good against them the last time. Not like, I think, again, Indiana is just like what they are. They're elite tournament plays. He has been 25% usage or better in 3 straight games. So we're seeing that uptick for Siakam. He's looking for more of his shot and more playmaking. So, obviously that's good to see that on the rise. This tier is fine. I mean, this position is forward, John. Forward kind of stinks. And that brings us full circle to like the Giannis point and to your Scotty Barnes point.
Yeah.
Like people are just playing Scotty Barnes or RJ Barrett because forward's bad. You could do the same thing with Giannis. We have the top overall value at guard. We have Casey Wallace, who's getting a lot of ownership at the other guard spot. So you could realistically pivot away and just take away the bad forward spot with like a Giannis or whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, our 5th highest projected rostered player tonight is Salon, which is somewhere priced. Is he 4K? Where is he?
No, he's 38.
He's 38, a little bit further down. There he is. I mean, again, he had a couple of good games there. We saw him completely bottom out, and 30% of the field are plugging him into the lowest game total on the board tonight.
I think basically this is what I think. And this is just my opinion. Like, if he plays well, he was a lottery pick. They have a lot of guys out. He's probably going to get extended, right? In a blowout, he's going to get extended. But if he's playing poorly, he gets 0 points, 0 for 8, 0 for 5.
1 rebound.
1 rebound. If that's the version we're going to get, now that Richards is back and Mark Williams is potentially back and they could play Diabate at the 4 if they wanted, that leaves him less wiggle room than it did against the Knicks or Miami or even Orlando when he went 0 for 3. But hey, we don't have enough people to play. You're playing 30, right? So if he plays well, he's obviously a value option. But if he doesn't, I mean, you're drawing debt. You have
it's another leverage play today, right? Like there's a very low floor with a guy that is 30. I understand minutes wise, but he played 30 minutes against Orlando and gave you 10 fantasy points.
Yes.
He's not guaranteed anything in terms of fantasy production. And you make a couple lineups tonight, you don't play one Salon and you go in a different direction, and then maybe you jump the field because everybody's eating his 6 fantasy points in the lineup. Jordan wants to know our thoughts on the Philly value today. Are we talking like Ricky Council, Yabusele, KJ Martin? Like, what do we think for what are we considering the Philly value for tonight?
Yeah, I mean, Yabusele Oubre, the Martins, probably. I mean, Kyle Lowry's expected back. I think Kyle Lowry's going to obviously be in the rotation.
Mark Williams will debut, by the way.
Cool.
Official notice there.
Cool. I mean, I think, we're going to see him really limited, but he's going to play. Him, Richards, Diabate, play some Diabate at the 4. I don't think that helps Salon at all. Not really interested in much Philly outside of Maxi George, Yabusele, truthfully. At Bona, Adem Bona is, I mentioned it on the show this morning. He played 20 minutes. So like you could, in theory, play him too, but Philly value is not, outside of like Yabusele, who's 57. It's still even like, that's where we are with value, I guess, right? Tonight, yeah. 5,700 is in that bucket.
Yep. So again, some options for you there. Anybody else at power forward?
No, the guy I want to talk about, we'll talk about at center.
All right, center we go. Again, Giannis is up here if you want. You got Wemby at 10-6 coming off of his triple-double 80 fantasy point game. Towns at 92. They just don't move his price tag against Orlando, $9,200 for him. Collins, Hartenstein, Jakob Poeltl, we had a question on earlier, $7,200 for him. Miles Turner, opposite side of that matchup. Thoughts in this range over here?
Yeah, love Wemby. Can always get to Towns if you want. Love Hartenstein. Doesn't matter what the minutes have looked like, whether it's been 29 or 37. He's given us a double-double, and he's given us basically 40 fantasy points. So depending on what OKC is going to do, if they are going to run the score up and try to advance in the Emirates NBA Cup, then you could realistically see a scenario that Hartenstein does play mid-30s minutes and has 50 rebounds tonight, right? Just like he's an elite passer. He's a good stocks guy. So I have no problem going to Isaiah Hartenstein whatsoever. So I prefer him to Jakob Poeltl, who I don't hate. I mean, he's still been good. Scotty Barnes and RJ Barrett there. Poeltl back-to-back double-doubles, back-to-back 17 and 24-point games. We know he's a good shot blocker as well. So Poeltl's definitely fine. Miles Turner, another really interesting tournament play for Indiana that has a high ceiling. Hasn't necessarily flashed it at all, like all the time, but does have a high ceiling, especially when, he's making shots. So yeah, I mean, it's an interesting range, and I think the value tier is much of the same too.
9,400 or 9,200 over on FanDuel. Towns versus Şengün for Michael.
Şengün. I wrote Şengün up in the playbook you can find over at fantasyalarm.com. Almost 3 straight triple doubles. The minutes. Houston needs this game to, host the next round of the Emirates NBA Cup. 52 plus fantasy points in all 3 of those games. So I'd say Şengün over Towns. Much better game environment for Şengün than Towns.
Yeah, I agree with you. All right, let's get to your guy here. Warren, Joval looking intriguing. We had the debate on the preview show between Valanciunas, and then I kind of threw Wendell Carter out there. Ownership this morning, everybody's playing Jonas Valanciunas. He played 31 minutes against Milwaukee. He's got the matchup against Cleveland here. You're expecting minutes out of him. And as you said, he's been a fantasy point per minute beast. What is it about Jonas Valanciunas, to those who are tuning in today, that you're in on?
Yeah, I mean, just baseline. This is not even including the Kuzma out stuff. 1.3 fantasy points per minute, 23.4% usage. Then you remove Kuzma, 1.4 fantasy points per minute, 24.6% usage. Like, we know, teams like to play big against Cleveland. This seems like a really good spot to run that double big back for Washington. Yeah. And I think if anybody on Washington in a blowout can get you to where you want, it's him, right? 1.4 fantasy points per minute. If he were to give you 25 minutes, he's smashing at, $5,200. So I am eating Valanciunas chalk. I wrote up, John, to be fair to you, like, I think Wendell Carter is a really nice play. I also think Goga Bitadze is a really nice play because they're playing them both. They're starting them. Wendell Carter's minutes went from 18, 26, 28, right? Like, immediately ramped up. Without Paolo Banchero this year, 1.01 fantasy points per minute. So, like, there's a really good foundation for Carter. And, you think of it like, well, the Knicks go small. Like, they're not going to play double big. No, they're going to play double big. Brooklyn goes small. Brooklyn plays Dorian Finney-Smith at their power forward, and they play like Cam Johnson sits around the perimeter the whole game and especially when he checks in at power forward. So like Orlando is just going to do what they're going to do. They're going to double big while they're without Paolo, and that's just what they're going to do. So Goga's been great. Wendell Carter's been great. I think there's any of those three names that you can legitimately play here at center, all priced literally next to each other. Goga 53, Valanciunas 52, Wendell Carter 51. Wendell Carter has better eligibility. If you want to play him and Valanciunas, I think that makes sense. But yeah, I like all three of those guys.
Yeah. Jordan saying Kmart Jr. had a big game. We did break down the minutes and everything for Philadelphia yesterday or this morning on the morning show. There was no Caleb Martin right in that game.
No Caleb Martin, and there was the Drummond injury.
Yeah, Drummond injury, no Caleb Martin, Paul George on a minutes limit. Ricky Council got a bunch of minutes in that game as well.
And no Lowry, and no Kyle Lowry, who's back too.
Right. There was a lot of things happened right for some of those bench guys to get playing here. So if everybody's back in the lineup tonight, sans Drummond, obviously, I have some reservations regarding Kmart replicating the minutes he got, a Council replicating. Now, if like Caleb Martin ends up being ruled out randomly tonight, that would obviously change, I think, the way we look at it a little bit, but very difficult to get to him tonight.
Agreed.
Plumlee's another one that is getting a lot of ownership, and we wanted to talk between him and Iguodaro. Plumlee started the other day. He only played 16 minutes in that game. So
I think this is a leverage spot, John. And I'm not like totally stamping Iguodaro as like going to get 30 minutes like he did last game. But I think there's something to be said about the situation. Like, Iguodaro is a 7-footer. He is athletic, just like Plumlee. He's better than Plumlee at this point, I think, in their respective careers. And he looked really good in that game that he was extended in. And I think there's a legitimate case that, like, get the younger, more athletic guy on Wemby and see what happens. And now they could just elect to go small, and they use Durant and Royce O'Neal and whoever, right, as their, like, small ball guarders against Victor Wembanyama. But, dude, Iguodaro 30 minutes, and yet, like, the field is just going to, like, blindly go right back to Plumlee just because his name is in the starting lineup, right? I don't think that's, like, the best logic. And I'm not sitting here saying that Iguodaro has even been, like, the best fantasy producer when given the opportunity. But when we're looking for value on a slate that doesn't have any, and, there's as much risk with Salon than there is with Iguodaro. And what if we get a curveball in Iguodaro starting tonight? How do we know for certain that after playing 16 minutes last game that they don't go to Iguodaro as the starter over Plumlee, right? And they want to keep Plumlee in that, like, backup 16-minute role. So I think that there's a lot of things factoring into why, if you don't feel comfortable playing Iguodaro, I don't think that means you should play Plumlee, because, like, that doesn't necessarily translate to, oh, well, Iguodaro's only going to play 14 and we're going to get all this. Like, they might just both not be in play. So if you're interested in some, like, pivot value off of someone like Salon, I do think Oso Iguodaro is that option. And I do think there's a small sliver of opportunity for him to start tonight over Plumlee.
And like you said, you may just put him in your lineup anyways. I would imagine most people probably plug Plumlee in, build their lineups around, and then pivot if that ends up being the case, because they'll have the extra $200 to do so.
Yep.
Versus the other way around, where then you need to find $200 to get to Plumlee. But you're just saying, in general, build with Iguodaro. That's your guy, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, I think Iguodaro is just the better play, regardless. Because, I mean, as we've seen, they really have been reluctant a lot of the time to extend Mason Plumlee.
Yep, agreed. Michael, Draymond Green is actually out for tonight. So not doubtful, he's out. I mean, I would hope they'd play Kuminga, but
you can, I wrote all this up in the Fantasy Alarm playbook. You could find at fantasyalarm.com. I do think that they could elect to go maybe Kevon Looney to match the size of Nikola Jokic, right? They could just because Jackson Davis is not as big. Like Looney's just a big dude, and he's been playing well, so they could just go Looney. I mean, Kuminga's 5,500, really good price. Podziemski is going to remain the starter at 5,500. He's a really good price. So there's a lot to like from Golden State, but obviously stay hip to the news because if Kevon Looney's starting at 4K, that's a really good value because he's going to play a lot against Jokic.
Agreed. All right, let's get our lineup build going then here. We've talked a lot of plays. We were obviously in on Scotty Barnes here today as one of our favorite core plays for the day. We also were in on Vasily Micic.
Yep.
Nembhard available, officially in here. So let's start here. Ty Jerome ruled out. That's your Karis LeVert point here. Where do you want to go next?
Let's go with do we want to be chalky or do we want to be a little risque here, John? Because I think
playing like Iguodala power forward tonight.
Well, I was going to go shooting guard, and I was going to say like the chalk answer here is to play Case and Wallace.
Yeah.
My brain is telling me to play KCP as a pivot who continues to make shots, and it's the game. Like both teams have very important games in their own right, but Orlando to win the group. So, all right, you went KCP. I like it.
All right, yeah, he's it. All right, power forward. What's our one spend up here? Who's the number one guy we building around here? Are we going more fair and balance ish with like a bunch of like 8K plays, or do we want to get a Luka, Wemby, Giannis?
Yeah, I mean to like this morning we built Brandon Miller, and that's to Jordan's point. Like I also still lean Miller over Barrett in that question. I don't look. You could obviously play Luka. You could obviously play Wemby. I think both of them are great plays. I think Valanciunas is a guy that I would like to play. So I don't know if that necessarily takes us out of the Wemby sweepstakes because do we really want to double center? I don't think it'd matter as much because that's the late game. So we'd have the late exposure in our util.
Jamming Giannis and give us 52 a play here. Guard forward detail.
You could do Giannis if you want to do fair and balance. You do the KD route.
Okay, good. There. I was gonna say if we did Giannis, we plug Iguodala at the forward here, and that gives us 6K for guard utility. Let's see. Do we have another like 5K range play that we liked? And Brogdon was 59. That'd be a 6K.
Yeah, two Washington feels. Too
risky.
Ugh. I don't hate Washington tonight, but
we can still play Case and Wallace and
go to Case and Wallace.
And then $7,600 Siakam. Yeah. Get us that other side of that Toronto game. So jamming in a low rostered Giannis again right now under 10%. Micic, KCP, Barnes, Giannis, Valanciunas, Wallace, Iguodala, Siakam as an example lineup. Warren saying throw KD in there. Could definitely throw KD in there. This type of direction be okay to go with single entry. I don't know what direction, but yeah, we can. You're talking about our lineup build. Yeah, you can play this in a single entry. Again, we went contrarian-ish. We definitely have some chalky plays with Micic and Barnes and Valanciunas and Case and Wallace, but we also have some very low roster plays with Giannis, Siakam, guys like that. So definitely be a little bit different with your lineup build. Again, no one is playing Giannis tonight. They're all spending up for Luka or playing more of a fair and balanced build. So you got a shot at an under 10% slate leader in points tonight. So yeah, guys, we appreciate you all tuning in again. We're here every day, 5 p.m. Eastern time, breaking down the slate. You can save 50% off our monthly All-Pro subscription right now, Cyber Week here at Fantasy Alarm, fantasyalarm.com/cyber, promo code CM24. You can scan that QR code right there on the screen. It'll take you right to the checkout page. Promo code already entered. You just create an account, hit your payment information. 7-day free trial included. You can cancel it anytime. gets access to all of our content here over at Fantasy Alarm. NBA, NHL, MMA, PGA, NFL, MLB is right around the corner. All the DFS and seasonal content you guys could want. Draft guides, cheat sheets, lineup generator, tools, and premium Discord access, all for $19.98 a month through 2026. So it's really one of the best deals we got going on here. So check us out at fantasyalarm.com/cyber, promo code CM24. Grande and I will be back tomorrow. Check us out for the preview show. Get us in the Discord. Follow us over on Twitter. Like, subscribe, share. Good luck, everybody.